Close your eyes, take a breath, a slow one. The kind you haven't taken in a while, the kind where your shoulders actually drop, where the tightness behind your ribs loosens just enough for you to remember what it feels like to not be carrying anything. Tonight, I want to tell you a story about a letter written by a dying man to a grandchild he loved more than anything in the world. A letter sealed in an envelope and pressed into small hands with a single instruction. Don't open this yet. Wait. You'll know when the time is right. And that letter, that quiet folded piece of paper, would change everything. It would save a life. Not dramatically, not with sirens and last-minute rescues, but slowly, gently, the way a seed saves the earth by simply agreeing to grow. This is the story of Grandpa's letter in Stardew Valley, and if you're listening to this to fall asleep, good, that's exactly what this is for. Let the words wash over you. Let the story carry you somewhere warm and quiet and safe. You don't need to remember every detail, you don't need to stay awake for the ending. The valley will still be here when you wake up, it always is. Before you go any further, if you enjoy these kinds of videos, the long quiet ones that give you something gentle to fall asleep to, I'd be grateful if you consider subscribing. It helps more than you know, and it means I can keep making these for you, but there's no pressure. Just know that I'm glad you're here. Now, let's begin at the beginning. The game opens in a small room. Not a hospital room exactly, but the kind of room where someone is clearly at the end of something. The light is dim and golden, the way afternoon light gets when it comes through old curtains. There's a bed, and in the bed is an old man. Your grandfather. He's dying. The game doesn't say this in words. It doesn't need to. You can see it in the stillness of him, in the way the room is arranged around his body like the world has already begun the process of saying goodbye. The furniture is close. The air feels close. Everything in this room has pulled inward, the way things do when someone is leaving. You are a child in this scene, small, standing at the bedside. And your grandfather looks at you with the particular intensity of someone who knows this is the last time, who is choosing his words with the care of a man who understands that these words will have to do the work of all the words he won't be able to say later. He speaks. Listen closely, he says. And then he tells you something that will not make sense for years. He tells you that there will come a time, not if, but when you will feel crushed by the burden of modern life, when you'll feel like you've lost sight of what matters most, real connections with other people and nature. He says this with the certainty of someone who has already watched this happen, perhaps to himself, perhaps to people he loved, perhaps to the whole world as he understood it, and then he gives you the letter, a sealed envelope. He presses it into your hands and tells you not to open it now, not today. He says you'll know when the time is right. When you feel that emptiness, that growing, hollow feeling that modern life carves into people, that's when you open it. He says one more thing. He says he'll always be proud of you. He says he has a feeling you're going to do great things. And then the scene fades, gently, the way candlelight fades when a draft comes through a window and your grandfather is gone. You carry the letter with you, for years apparently. Through childhood, through growing up, through whatever path brought you to a desk in a grey office building where the fluorescent lights never turn off and the walls are the colour of nothing. The letter sits in a drawer, waiting. Let's talk about the place you end up. Because the game wants you to feel it, the full, specific weight of the life you're living before the letter gets opened. You work for Joja Corporation. Joja is not subtle. The game's creator, Eric Barone, known online as Concerned Ape, designed Joja Corporation to be exactly what it looks like. A massive, soulless entity that treats human beings as interchangeable parts in a profit-generating machine. The opening cutscene shows you sitting at a desk in a vast office. The cubicles stretch out in every direction, identical, endless, arranged in a grid that seems designed to remind each person in it that they are not special, not unique, not even particularly necessary. They are a function. They occupy a square. They perform a task. That is all. The Yosha slogan hangs on the wall. Join us. Thrive. 2 words that would be inspiring if the room they were displayed in didn't look like a place where hope goes to be processed into quarterly earnings reports. The desks are bare and stained. The workers stare at screens with the glazed focus of people who stopped seeing what was on those screens a long time ago. And here is the detail that haunts players who notice it. In the background of that opening office scene, At one of those identical cubicles there is a skeleton. Not a Halloween decoration, not a joke. A skeleton sitting at a desk in the same posture as every other worker. Someone died at their Joya workstation and was simply never removed. The corporation was so indifferent to its employees that a human being could cease to exist at their desk and become, over time, just another piece of office furniture. This is the world your grandfather was warning you about. This is the emptiness he predicted. Not the emptiness of having nothing. You have a job, a desk, a paycheck, a routine. But the emptiness of having all of those things and still feeling like you are disappearing. Like the essential thing that makes you yourself is being slowly, methodically, efficiently extracted from you, 8 hours at a time, 5 days a week, until what remains is not a person but a function. You sit at your desk, the fluorescent lights hum, the skeleton in the next row over grins at nothing, and then, one day, the emptiness reaches the point your grandfather described, the point where you can feel it, physically feel it, that something fundamental has been lost. And you remember the letter. You open the drawer. The letter reads like this: Dear child, if you're reading this, you must be in dire need of a change. The same thing happened to me long ago. I'd lost sight of what mattered most in life, real connections with other people and nature, so I dropped everything and moved to the place I truly belong. He enclosed something with the letter, a deed. The deed to his farm, his pride and joy he calls it, located in Stardew Valley, on the southern coast of the Ferngill Republic. It's the perfect place to start your new life, he writes. And then, at the end, a postscript that is somehow the most human thing in the entire letter. P.S. If Lewis is still alive, say hi to the old guy for me, will you? Think about that postscript for a moment. Your grandfather, writing what he knows will be the most important letter of your life. A letter that will redirect your entire existence. And he can't resist adding a little note about his old friend, the mayor. It's the kind of thing a real person does. Not a character in a story, not a narrative device, but a real person who is dying and thinking about the people he cared about and hoping, quietly, that they're still around. That the world he loved hasn't changed too much since he left it. The letter is your grandfather's final gift. Not just the farm, though the farm is extraordinary, but the permission to leave. The permission to walk away from the cubicle and the fluorescent lights and the skeleton at the desk and the hollow slogan on the wall. The permission to start over. Your grandfather understood something that took him a lifetime to learn. That the things the world tells you matter, the career, the productivity, the efficiency, the quarterly results, are not the things that actually matter. The things that actually matter are simpler and older and harder to measure. Soil, sunlight, the sound of a river, the face of a neighbour who knows your name. He couldn't give you that understanding directly. Understanding isn't something you can hand to someone in an envelope, but he could give you the place where that understanding might grow, and he could trust you to find it on your own. That's what the farm is, not a gift of property, a gift of possibility. You quit your job at Joja Corporation. The game shows this with beautiful simplicity. You stand up from your desk, you walk out of the office, and you don't look back. The cubicles recede behind you, the fluorescent lights dim, the skeleton stays where it is, grinning at the screen, forever. You take a bus. A long bus ride, apparently, from whatever city you lived in to the small rural community of Pelican Town, located in Stardew Valley on the southern coast. The bus winds through mountains and forests and along rivers until it finally pulls to a stop on a dirt road, and the door opens, and the air that meets you is different from any air you've breathed in years. It smells like grass and earth, and the particular sweetness of a place where things are growing. The sky is enormous, not the narrow strip of sky visible between skyscrapers, but the whole sky, horizon to horizon, blue and open and indifferent to your problems in the most comforting way possible. A woman named Robin meets you at the bus stop. She's the town's carpenter, practical, friendly, the kind of person who shakes your hand firmly and talks about lumber the way some people talk about art. She walks you to your farm, and the farm is not what you might have hoped. It's overgrown, massively, comprehensively overgrown. Trees have moved in where fields used to be. Rocks and stumps and weeds cover every surface. The farmhouse is small and bare. A single room with a bed, a television, and the musty smell of a place that hasn't been lived in for a very long time. This is your grandfather's pride and joy. This is the place he loved more than anywhere else in the world. and it looks, frankly, abandoned. It looks like the earth took it back the moment he stopped tending it, the way the earth always does. Patiently, thoroughly, without malice but without hesitation either. You might feel, standing there among the weeds with your cheap watering can and your grandfather's letter in your pocket, that you have made a terrible mistake. You haven't, but you won't know that for a while. Mayor Lewis finds you on your first morning. He is an older man with a thick moustache and the particular energy of someone who has been in charge of a very small thing for a very long time and has come to regard that thing as profoundly important. Lewis has been the mayor of Pelican Town for over 20 years. There are no elections, apparently. He simply is the mayor, the way the mountain simply is the mountain. Lewis knew your grandfather. He speaks of him with warmth and respect and the particular fondness that comes from decades of friendship, the kind where you stop trying to impress each other and simply exist in each other's company. Your grandfather was, it seems, a beloved figure in Pelican Town, someone who farmed the land honestly, contributed to the community, and understood the valley in a way that suggested deep roots and long history. Lewis gives you a brief tour. He introduces you to the town, or at least to the idea of the town, because Pelican Town is the kind of place that reveals itself slowly over seasons, not all at once on a guided walk. What you see on that first walk is a small community arranged along a river, ringed by mountains and forest, dotted with little houses and shops. There's Pierre's general store, where a nervous, slightly competitive man sells seeds and groceries. There's the Stardrop Saloon, run by a warm, generous bartender named Gus, who seems to feed half the town on credit and never complains about it. There's Harvey's Clinic, Robin's carpenter shop, the blacksmith where a lonely man named Clint works the forge. There's a library, a museum, a beach to the south, where a weathered fisherman named Willie keeps his shop, and there's the community centre. Lewis shows it to you with a sigh. The community centre was once the heart of Pelican Town, a gathering place, a shared space, a building that represented everything the community could accomplish together. That was a long time ago. Now it's falling apart. The roof leaks, the walls are crumbling, the rooms smell of damp and neglect. Lewis calls it a ruin and says the town doesn't have the resources to fix it. He mentions, almost as an afterthought, that some people in town want to sell the building to Joja Corporation, which would convert it into a warehouse. The Joja warehouse, right here in the valley you came to escape, Joja. The community centre sits there, quiet and broken, waiting for someone to decide what it should become. Your first season on the farm is spring. 28 days of learning the rhythm of a life you've never lived before. You clear land. With an axe and a pickaxe in your hands, you cut down the trees and break the rocks and pull up the weeds that have claimed your grandfather's fields. It's exhausting work. Your energy bar, which represents the physical stamina of someone who has been sitting at a desk for years, is painfully small at first. You can clear maybe a quarter of the land before you're too tired to swing the axe one more time. You go to bed early, sore and overwhelmed, and wake up to do it again. You plant seeds. Parsnips first, the 15 seeds that Lewis gives you as a welcome gift. This simplest, most forgiving crop in the game. You water them by hand, one tile at a time, because you don't have sprinklers yet, because sprinklers require metal that requires mining, that requires energy that you don't have because you spent it all clearing land. The cycle is tight and demanding and deeply, surprisingly satisfying. Because things grow. That's the miracle of it, the thing your grandfather knew and Joja Corporation could never understand. You put a seed in the ground, and you water it, and you wait, and it grows. It doesn't ask for a performance review. It doesn't require a quarterly assessment. It just grows on its own schedule, according to its own nature, and when it's ready, it gives you something. A parsnip, a potato, a cauliflower. Something real that you can hold in your hands and know that you made it happen. Not by being productive in the corporate sense, but by paying attention to the earth and giving it what it needed. Each season lasts exactly 28 days, and when the season changes, the world transforms completely. Spring's gentle greens give way to summer's blazing heat and bright flowers. Summer fades into fall's golden harvest and the rich reds and oranges of the changing leaves. And then winter arrives, cold, quiet, the ground frozen too hard for most crops, the valley blanketed in snow. Winter is the season of rest, not idleness. You can mine, you can fish, you can upgrade your tools at Clint's Forge, but rest in the deeper sense. The land rests, the fields rest, the relentless cycle of planting and watering and harvesting pauses, and you are given time to look around and notice things you were too busy to notice before. This is when you start to really see Pelican Town. Not the buildings and the roads, but the people. The people of Pelican Town are, at first glance, exactly what you'd expect in a small rural community. Friendly, routine-driven, slightly set in their ways. They greet you on the road with a particular politeness of people who are being nice to a stranger because it's the right thing to do, not because they've decided to let you in yet. But Stardew Valley is a game about what happens beneath the surface, and every single person in Pelican Town is carrying something. Shane works at the local Joja Mart. Yes, Joja followed you here, in the form of a gleaming big box store managed by a smug corporate representative named Morris. And he drinks heavily every evening at the Stardrop Saloon. He is curt with you when you first try to talk to him. Not rude exactly, but sealed. Closed. He has decided, long before you arrived, that human connection is not worth the risk of disappointment, and he maintains that decision with the stubborn consistency of someone who is afraid that if he opens up even a crack, everything inside will come flooding out. Penny lives in a trailer with her mother Pam, who lost her job as the town's bus driver and has spent the years since then finding her way to the bottom of a bottle most nights. Penny wakes up early, cleans the trailer quietly so as not to wake her mother, and walks to the library to tutor the town's two youngest children, Jazz and Vincent, for free, because she believes in the work even though no one asked her to do it and no one pays her for it. She dreams of being a teacher. She dreams of having a real house. She dreams of mornings that don't start with a careful calculation of how much mess her mother made the night before. Kent is missing from the town entirely during your first year. His wife Jodie raises their sons Sam and Vincent alone, and she does it with the particular grace of someone who has practiced being strong so long that she's forgotten any other way to be. In year 2, Kent comes home from the war, the ongoing conflict between the Ferngill Republic and the Gotoro Empire, a war that most people in Pelican Town prefer not to think about. Kent was a prisoner of war. He was held in a Gotoro prison camp. He survived things he can barely reference, and he came home to find that home doesn't quite feel like home anymore. There's a scene where Jodie makes popcorn, and the sound of the kernels popping sends Kent somewhere else entirely. His body goes still, his eyes go distant, and you can see, in that moment, that the war is not something Kent went to and came back from. It's something he's still in. Alex lives with his grandparents, George and Evelyn, because his mother died and his father was abusive. He throws a football obsessively, practicing for a professional career in gridball that may never come, because athletics is the only language he has for proving that his father was wrong about him. His father told him he was worthless. Alex has been trying to throw a ball hard enough to make that word untrue ever since. Linus lives in a tent on the mountain, by choice. He chose this life, the open air, the campfire, the deliberate rejection of everything society says you need, and the town has never quite forgiven him for it. His tent gets vandalized. People feel sorry for him, which is worse than being ignored because it assumes he needs saving. Linus doesn't need saving. He needs to be left alone to live the life he chose. The wizard, M. Rasmodius, lives in a tower in the forest. He was married once to a woman of great magical power, and he betrayed her. His ex-wife became the witch. Her curse anchored him to his tower, unable to leave in human form. He watches the valley through an enchanted-looking glass, participating in the life of the town through spells and correspondence, but never through presence. He believes one of the residents of Pelican Town is his daughter, but he cannot confirm this, cannot ask, can only watch from his tower and wonder. Carolyn, Pierre's wife, used to take secret walks to the wizard's tower in the early days of her marriage. Abigail, Pierre and Caroline's daughter, has naturally purple hair that never fades and never grows back a different colour. The wizard has purple hair. Pierre has started to wonder, quietly, whether Abigail is really his. These are the people your grandfather's letter sent you to live among, not characters in a story. People, with the full weight and complexity that word implies. The first time you walk into the abandoned community centre, something moves in the shadows. It's small, round, bright coloured, green, maybe, or yellow. It's hard to tell because it moves so quickly. It watches you from behind a crumbling pillar, and then it's gone. Just a flash of something alive in a place that should be empty. If you mention this to Mayor Lewis, he decides the building has a rat problem. You can't see what you saw. Most people can't. The thing in the community centre, the things, because there are many of them, are invisible to nearly everyone in Pelican Town, but not to you. and not to the wizard. The wizard sends you a letter. He invites you to his tower. When you arrive, he gives you something, a potion that allows you to read the language of the forest spirits. Because that's what the creatures in the community centre are. Forest spirits. Ancient, mysterious beings called Junimos. Keepers of the natural world. Guardians of the balance between human activity and the wild places of the earth. The Junimos have been referenced in Pelican Town's culture for generations. There's a children's television show called The Happy Junimo Show. There are books of folklore that mention them alongside fairies and other mythical creatures. Adults dismiss them as stories, the way adults always dismiss the things children instinctively know to be real. But the Junimos are real, and they've moved into the community centre. Why the community centre? Because the building sits on land that is deeply connected to the valley's natural energy. When the community maintained the centre, when people gathered there, when the building was a living part of the town's shared life, the relationship between the human world and the natural world was in balance. The Junimos were content. The land was tended. Everything was as it should be. Then the community abandoned the centre. Joja Mart moved into town offering cheaper prices and longer hours, and people stopped shopping at Pierre's. People stopped gathering. The communal spaces emptied. The community centre fell into disrepair. And the Junimos felt that abandonment like a wound. They didn't come to the community centre as squatters. They came as caretakers. They came because the building was already, in some deep sense, theirs. A place where the natural and the human were supposed to coexist, and where that coexistence had broken down. The Junimos make you an offer. It's presented through golden scrolls that appear on the walls of each room in the community centre. Scrolls covered in a language that only you, with the wizard's potion, can read. Each scroll describes a bundle, a collection of items from the valley that represents the full living abundance of the land. Crops from every season, fish from every body of water, minerals from the deep earth, foraged items from the forest floor, animal products from well-tended livestock, artisan goods made with patience and skill. Bring the Junimos these gifts, these tokens of the valley's vitality, and they will restore the community centre. Room by room, bundle by bundle, they will fix what was broken. They will repair the bridge to the quarry, restore the bus route to the desert, fix the mine carts that connect the mines to the town, rebuild the greenhouse on your farm. Each completed bundle brings something back to life, and when every bundle is complete, when every room is restored, the Junimos converge on the building in a celebration that is more ritual than party. They dance, they glow, they call something ancient back into the valley, some energy that had been dormant, some connection between the land and the people that had been severed. Then they leave, all at once, gone, as suddenly as they appeared. Where they go, the game never says explicitly. The wizard suggests they exist in a kind of in-between space, simultaneously part of the visible world and part of something older, a spirit world that underlies everything in the valley. When their work is done, they return to that world, or perhaps they never truly left. Perhaps they're always here, just beyond the edge of your vision, watching the valley breathe. There is an alternative path. The game offers it without judgment, though not without consequence. If you purchase a Joja Corporation membership, available from Morris at the Joja Mart for a fee, the community centre is converted into a Joja warehouse. The golden scrolls disappear. The Junimos leave. The building is renovated not by magic and communal effort, but by corporate investment and monetary transactions. You can pay, in gold, for each of the same upgrades the Junimos would have provided. The bus, the minecarts, the bridge, the greenhouse. The upgrades are identical. The result functionally is the same, but the Junimos are gone. The forest spirits who waited patiently in a crumbling building for someone to understand what they were offering, they simply leave. The building that was supposed to be a gathering place for the community becomes a warehouse for the corporation you fled. In a game about escaping corporate life, about finding something more authentic and more human, you can choose to complete that escape by empowering the same machine that hollowed you out in the first place. You can heal the valley with money instead of connection, with efficiency instead of ritual. The game never tells you that you made the wrong choice, but it makes sure you feel what you traded. It makes sure you notice the absence. Some choices are like that. They work, but they cost something that doesn't appear on any balance sheet. Your grandfather knew about the Junimos. He must have. He farmed this land for years, decades possibly. He tended the soil, he grew the crops, he lived in the rhythm of the seasons the way you're learning to live in them now. A man that attuned to the valley, that connected to its deeper nature, could not have been unaware of the spirits that live just beneath the surface of things. Did he see them? Did he communicate with them? The game doesn't say. But consider the timing. Your grandfather dies and his farm goes untended, and the community centre falls further into ruin, and the Junimos move in and begin their vigil. And then you arrive, his grandchild carrying his letter, taking up his tools, working his soil, and the Junimos emerge almost immediately. They show themselves to you on one of your very first visits to the community centre. Something in the valley was waiting for you. Not just the farm, not just the land, but something older and deeper. Some force or presence that recognised you as the continuation of something your grandfather started. As if the letter wasn't just your grandfather's last gift to you, it was his last gift to the valley. He sent you here because you needed the valley. But perhaps the valley needed you too. Let yourself rest here for a moment. Feel the weight of the blanket. Feel the softness of wherever you're lying. The story is going to continue. There's so much more to tell. But it will still be here. The valley keeps its secrets patiently. They'll wait for you. Breathe. Slowly. The way the seasons change in Stardew Valley. Not rushing, not forcing anything, just turning, gently, from one thing into the next. The farm is quiet. The crops are growing in the dark. Somewhere in Pelican Town, a light is on in the Stardrop Saloon, and Gus is wiping down the bar, and the night is settling over the valley like a blanket of its own. Rest. The story continues whenever you're ready. On your farm in the far northwest corner there is a shrine. It's easy to miss. The farm is large and overgrown when you first arrive, and the northwest corner is one of the last places you'll clear. There are trees and rocks and weeds between you and it, and in the early days when every swing of the axe cost precious energy, the shrine is not a priority. It's just a stone structure, partially obscured by vegetation, sitting quietly at the edge of your property. But if you walk up to it and read the inscription, you'll find a note. It says, "Wait for my return at the dawn of your 3rd year." This is Grandpa's shrine, and the note is from your grandfather. He is coming back. Not in the way he was. Not as a living man with warm hands and a familiar voice, but as something else. A presence. A memory given form. A ghost, if you want to call it that. Though the game treats his return with too much warmth and reverence for that word to feel entirely right. On the first day of spring in your 3rd year on the farm, exactly 2 years after you arrived, exactly 2 years after you opened the letter and quit your job and took the bus to this quiet corner of the world, your grandfather's spirit appears at the shrine. He has come to evaluate you. This is mechanically a point system. The game tracks 21 possible points across a range of categories. How much money you've earned, how high your skills have risen, how many friendships you've built, whether you've completed the community centre, whether you've found the skull key and the rusty key, whether you've caught every fish, shipped every item, donated every artefact to the museum. Your performance across all of these dimensions determines how many candles light up on the shrine. 1, 2, 3, or 4. But the evaluation is not really about points. It's about something the game is asking you to consider. What does it mean to honour the legacy of someone who loved you? Your grandfather didn't leave you the farm so you could maximise gold per day. He didn't leave you the letter so you could optimise your crop rotations and min-max your skill trees. He left you the farm because he believed, with the quiet, absolute conviction of someone who had lived it, that connection to the land and to other people was the cure for the emptiness that modern life creates. The evaluation measures that connection. Did you build friendships? Did you tend the land? Did you explore the deep places and the high places? Did you restore the community centre, bringing back the communal spirit that the valley had lost? Did you marry, build a home, care for animals, nurture something beyond yourself? These are not metrics of productivity. They are metrics of living. And your grandfather's ghost stands at the shrine, looking at the farm he loved, and judges, gently, without harshness, whether you found what he sent you here to find. The results of the evaluation depend on how many of those 21 points you've accumulated. The game divides the outcomes into 4 tiers, each marked by candles that light up around the shrine. If only one candle lights, 0 to 3 points. Your grandfather's ghost says something gentle, not disappointed, not angry. He says, The farm hasn't changed much in these past few years, but that's okay. If you're enjoying your new life, that's all that matters to me. Think about that. Even at the lowest tier of evaluation, your grandfather doesn't scold you. He doesn't tell you that you failed. He says that your happiness is what matters most. He came back from wherever the dead go to check on you, and the first thing he wants to know is not whether you maximised your output, but whether you're okay. Whether this life, this quiet, messy, imperfect life on a farm that's still mostly weeds, is making you happy. If 2 candles light, 4 to 7 points, he's warmer. You've done a good job with the place. It seems you've tried your best. That's all I can ask for. I'm proud of you. Your best. Not the best. Your best. The distinction matters. He isn't comparing you to some ideal farmer who completes every bundle in year 1 and ships $1 million gold worth of ancient wine before winter. He's measuring you against yourself, against your own capacity, your own effort, your own honest attempt to make something of this place. 3 candles, 8 to 11 points, and the warmth deepens. You've done well, my child. The farm has never looked better. It's an honour to the family name. Grandpa is pleased. He refers to himself in the third person here, which is somehow deeply affecting. Grandpa is pleased. Not, I am pleased. As if he's already partially gone, already partially merged with whatever exists beyond the shrine, and can only refer to his living self as a memory. Grandpa, the man who sat at the bedside, the man who wrote the letter, the man who knew the land, is pleased with what you've done. And 4 candles, 12, or more points, brings the fullest response. I'm so proud of you, my child. You're a better farmer than I ever was, and you've brought great honour to the family name. I can feel it now. My spirit is finally put to rest. Bless you. His spirit is finally put to rest. Your grandfather has been waiting. Not just since the dawn of your 3rd year, not just since the note on the shrine, but since before that. Perhaps since the moment he died. Perhaps since the moment he wrote the letter. He's been waiting to know that you're okay, that the farm is okay, that the decision he made, to leave you this land, to trust you with his pride and joy, to give you the exit he knew you'd eventually need, was the right one. And when you've done enough, when you've built friendships and tended the land and restored what was broken and lived, truly lived, in the way that the valley makes possible, his spirit can finally rest. The last thread connecting him to the world of the living is the knowledge that his grandchild is going to be all right. And when he has that knowledge, he can go. He blesses you, and then he's gone. But he leaves something behind. If you achieve the 4-candle evaluation, you can interact with the shrine one more time. And when you do, you receive the Statue of Perfection. This is a small, dark statue that you can place on your farm. It produces iridium ore every day, between 2 and 8 pieces, which is one of the most valuable and useful resources in the entire game. Iridium is used to craft the highest tier tools and equipment. It's found naturally only in the deepest, most dangerous parts of the Skull Cavern, a place that can take hours of real-time gameplay to mine effectively. Your grandfather's statue just gives it to you, every morning, quietly, without fanfare. It's a practical reward, yes, but it's also something else. It's your grandfather, still providing for you, even after death. Still tending the farm through whatever magic or love or residual presence allows the statue to function. Every piece of iridium ore that appears in the morning is a small, wordless reminder, I am still here. I am still helping. The farm is still ours. And if the statue is ever lost or destroyed, if a bomb goes off too close to it, if it's accidentally misplaced, you can return to the shrine and receive another one. Your grandfather's gift is not fragile. It doesn't break permanently. It comes back, the way love comes back, the way the things that actually matter always find a way to persist. If you didn't achieve 4 candles on your first evaluation, if life on the farm hasn't quite reached that threshold yet, the game offers you a second chance. Not just 1 second chance, infinite second chances. At any point after the initial evaluation, you can place a diamond into Grandpa's shrine. A diamond, one of the most beautiful and valuable gems in the game, found deep in the mines or crafted from the earth. You offer it to the shrine, and the next morning your grandfather returns. He evaluates you again. He looks at the farm as it is now, not as it was 2 years ago. He measures your progress, your growth, the new friendships you've built and the new skills you've gained and the things you've accomplished since the last time he visited. And if your score has improved, If you've done more, grown more, connected more, the candles change, new ones light, the dialogue warms, the blessing deepens. Your grandfather will come back as many times as you need him to. He will never refuse the diamond. He will never tell you he's tired of evaluating, tired of visiting, tired of being called back from wherever spirits go. He comes every time. He looks at the farm every time. He tells you every time how he feels about what you've done. This is not a game mechanic, this is a grandfather. Let's go deeper into the letter. Because there is something in it that most players read once and never think about again, but which contains, I think, the deepest secret of the entire game. Your grandfather wrote, "The same thing happened to me long ago. I'd lost sight of what mattered most in life. The same thing happened to him." Your grandfather, the man who loved this farm, who spent his life here, who knew the land so intimately that he could predict the arc of his grandchild's future, was not always this person. He wasn't born a farmer. He wasn't born with the wisdom he had at the end of his life. He was once, just like you, someone who had lost sight of what mattered. He doesn't say what his version of Jojo was. He doesn't describe what his cubicle looked like or what his fluorescent lights felt like. But he acknowledges that the emptiness you feel, the specific, modern, corporate emptiness of a life optimized for productivity rather than meaning, is something he recognized because he lived it himself. He dropped everything. Those are his words. He dropped everything and moved to the place he truly belonged. What did he drop? A career, presumably. A life in a city, maybe. Relationships, possibly. Though we don't know enough about his history to say for certain. What we know is that he made the same leap he's asking you to make. From a life that looked successful to a life that felt real. And the farm, the overgrown, weed-choked, rock-strewn farm that you inherit, was what he found when he got here. It wasn't always beautiful. It wasn't always productive. It was once as raw and unformed as it is on the morning you arrive. He built it from nothing. He cleared the land, planted the seeds, established the fields, built the relationships, tended the community. Everything you do on the farm he did first. The letter is not just a deed to a piece of property, it is a map. It is your grandfather saying, "I walked this path before you. I know where it leads. Trust it." There is a location in the game that you can only reach after achieving near total completion of everything the valley has to offer. It is called the Summit. To reach it, you must have done almost everything. Completed the community centre, filled the museum, caught every fish, shipped every item, reached maximum hearts with every villager, found every star drop, explored every corner of the valley and the desert and Ginger Island. The game checks a completion percentage, and when it's high enough, a path opens on the mountain that wasn't there before. You walk up. The path is narrow, winding through trees that thin as you climb until you're above the tree line entirely. The music is quiet, almost absent, just a gentle ambient hum. There's no time pressure, no enemies, no quest markers, just you, walking upward. At the top you see the entire valley spread out below you. Every field, every building, every river and road and forest, laid out in the afternoon light like a painting of the life you've built. The farm is there, green and ordered and alive. Pelican Town is there, with its little houses and its little people going about their little lives that, as you've learned, are not little at all. The mountains ring the valley like arms, the sea glitters in the distance, and then your grandfather appears, not as a ghost this time, not as a scored evaluation, as a presence, warm, familiar, proud. He tells you that this is what he hoped for when he left you the farm. Not the accolades, not the gold, not the completion percentage. This, the person you've become, the connections you've made, the way you took a broken down farm and a sealed letter and a feeling of emptiness and turned them into a life. He is proud of you. He says this, and you believe him, because you've spent years now learning what that word means in the language of the valley. Not the pride of achievement, but the pride of recognition. He recognizes you. He sees who you've become, and it is enough. The summit is the game's true ending, though the game continues after it. You can keep farming, keep building, keep living in the valley as long as you want. But the summit is the moment where the story of the letter reaches its conclusion. The letter was a seed. You planted it. And here, on the top of the mountain, with the whole valley at your feet and your grandfather's presence beside you, it has finally bloomed. Let's talk about what your grandfather's letter really means. Not mechanically, Not what it does in terms of game progression, but thematically. What is this letter in the deeper language of the story? It is a lifeline thrown across time. Your grandfather sat down and wrote this letter knowing he would die, knowing he would not be there to guide you, to teach you, to show you the farm and the valley and the rhythms of the seasons. He would not be there for your first spring when everything is new and overwhelming. He would not be there for your first winter when the world goes quiet and you finally have time to think. He would not be there to introduce you to Lewis and Robin and Willie and all the people he knew and loved. All he could do was write a letter, a single page, a few paragraphs, a deed, a postscript about Lewis, and a lifetime of wisdom compressed into the simplest possible instruction. Go to the farm, start over. The valley will do the rest, and the valley did. The Junimos appeared. The wizard noticed. The shrine waited. The seasons turned. The people opened up one heart event at a time, revealing their wounds and their hopes and their complicated, messy, beautiful humanity. The mine went deep. The fish bit. The ancient seeds, buried for centuries, grew purple fruit in the summer light. Everything your grandfather couldn't give you directly, the understanding, the peace, the sense of purpose, the knowledge that you matter, the valley gave you instead. Because the valley is, in some sense, an extension of your grandfather. His decades of tending this land, of living in this community, of learning the things that matter and practicing them daily. All of that care is embedded in the soil, in the air, in the particular way the light falls across the fields at sunset. The farm remembers him. The valley remembers him. And through the farm and the valley he is still teaching you, still guiding you, still present. Not as a ghost, but as a legacy. That is the dark secret of Grandpa's letter. Not that there is some hidden, sinister truth buried in the words. The secret is that the letter is an act of faith. The most radical act of faith a person can perform. Your grandfather wrote a letter to a future he would never see, trusting that the words would arrive at the right time, that the farm would still be there, that the valley would still have its magic, and that you, his grandchild, sitting in a cubicle next to a skeleton, would have the courage to open the envelope, read the words, and choose a different life. He couldn't know any of this for certain. He was dying. The future was dark. All he had was faith. Faith in you, faith in the land, faith in the idea that sometimes a letter is enough. And it was. The letter was enough. Here you are, on the farm, under the stars, with the sound of the river in the distance and the weight of the seasons behind you. And you are exactly where he hoped you'd be. There's one more thing, one small detail that most people overlook, but which I think matters more than almost anything else in the game. The note on the shrine, the one that says, "Wait for my return at the dawn of your 3rd year," was there before you arrived. It was on the shrine when the farm was still overgrown, when no one lived in the farmhouse, when the fields were full of weeds and the community centre was falling apart. Your grandfather left that note, before he died. He walked to the northwest corner of his farm, placed a message on the shrine and told the future, that he would come back. He wasn't just leaving you a farm. He was making a promise that he would check on you, a promise that death was not the end of his involvement in your life, a promise that, whatever happened, however many years passed, however badly the farm deteriorated, however deeply you got lost in the emptiness of Joja, he would come back, and he does, he comes back. On the first morning of spring year 3, exactly when he said he would, his spirit appears at the shrine. He kept his promise. The dead man kept his promise. In a game full of magic, full of forest spirits and wizards and cursed witches and ancient wars and alien capsules, this is perhaps the most magical thing of all. A grandfather who promised his grandchild that he would return. And who did. Think about the people in your own life who have left you something. Not necessarily a farm or a letter. Maybe just a phrase they said once that lodged in your mind and grew there, slowly, over years. Maybe a way of looking at the world that you didn't appreciate at the time but that you find yourself returning to now, in quiet moments, like a path through the woods that you didn't know you'd memorized. The people who love us leave us seeds. That's what your grandfather did. He left you a seed, a letter, a deed, a farm, and trusted that you would plant it when the time was right, and that it would grow into the life you needed. The dark secret of Grandpa's letter is that it is not dark at all. It is luminous. It is the brightest thing in the entire game, a light left burning by someone who is no longer here. placed exactly where it needs to be, waiting with infinite patience for the moment when you need it most. The letter says, you are not lost. You are not stuck. You are not the person that Joja made you into. You're still the child who stood at the bedside, small and open and full of possibility, and the farm is still there, and the valley is still there, and I am still here, in the soil, in the shrine, in the way the morning light falls across the fields I used to tend. Come home, the letter says, come home and start again. The valley is very quiet now. The last light has faded from the sky above Pelican town. The Stardrop Saloon has closed for the night. Gus has wiped the bar one last time and turned off the lights and walked home through the empty streets, his footsteps the only sound in the dark. The shops are shuttered. Pierre's general store is closed, the seeds and supplies waiting quietly on the shelves for morning. In the carpenter's shop, Robin has set down her tools. Demetrius is making notes in his research journal. Sebastian is in the basement, the blue glow of his computer screen the last light in the house. Maru is asleep upstairs, dreaming of circuitry and stars. At the ranch, Marnie has settled the animals for the night. Shane is on the porch, not drinking. Not tonight, not anymore. Just sitting in the dark, listening to the sounds of the farm, and for once the silence doesn't feel like something he needs to fill. Penny is reading by lamplight in the new house you helped build for her and Pam. The trailer is gone. The mornings are different now. Pam is trying. Penny knows that trying is its own kind of bravery. Kent is awake. He's often awake at this hour, but tonight the sounds of the night are just sounds. Crickets, wind, the distant murmur of the river. No echoes, no memories intruding, just the valley, breathing. On Ginger Island, if you listen carefully, you might hear the sound of parrots settling into the trees. Leo is asleep in his treehouse, warm and safe, and the birds that raised him are nearby, and the ocean that brought him here is gentle tonight. The wizard is at his looking glass, watching the valley the way he always does, with the particular attention of someone who sees too much and says too little. The witch is in her swamp. They are apart as they have been for years, but they are both still here, which is its own kind of unresolved persistence. And on your farm in the northwest corner, the shrine stands in the dark. The candles are lit. However many you earned, however far you've come, however much of your grandfather's legacy you've managed to honour, the light from those candles is small but steady. It doesn't flicker, it doesn't fade. Your grandfather lit those candles. From wherever he is now, he lit them for you, and they'll stay lit. Through every season that comes after this one, through every year, through every change the valley brings, the candles will stay lit. There is a particular quality to the silence of a farm at night. Not the absence of sound, there is always sound. The crickets, the wind in the grass, the distant splash of something jumping in the river, but the quality of that sound. It is the silence of things that are growing. The crops in your fields are growing right now in the dark without your help, without anyone watching. The roots are reaching deeper into the soil. The stalks are stretching imperceptibly toward a sky they can't see yet. The fruit is forming cell by cell in the quiet patience of things that know they will arrive when they arrive. This is what your grandfather knew. This is what the letter was really about. Not the farm, not the deed, not the escape from Yoja, but this. The knowledge that the most important things in life happen quietly. They happen in the dark. They happen without being watched or measured or evaluated. They happen because someone a long time ago put a seed in the ground and trusted it to grow. You were the seed. The letter was the planting. And the farm, this strange, beautiful, complicated place, full of ancient spirits and lonely blacksmiths and children who speak to birds and veterans who carry wars inside them, and old men who live in tents, and young women who clean trailers at dawn. The farm is the soil. Your grandfather put you here, and you grew. Let the silence settle now. Let the story fade the way candlelight fades, the way the last colours in the sky fade after sunset, not disappearing exactly, but becoming part of something larger and softer and more enveloping. The farm is quiet. The valley is quiet. The people of Pelican Town are asleep, or nearly so, each of them carrying their particular weight, their particular beauty, their particular story that continues even when no one is watching. Somewhere in the soil, an ancient seed is germinating. A seed buried longer than memory, longer than history, longer than the Dwarf Wars and the founding of the Ferngill Republic, and the building and abandoning and rebuilding of the community centre. That seed is growing. Slowly. patiently, in the dark. And somewhere in you, something similar is happening. Something that was planted by a word, by a kindness, by a letter opened on a bad day in a grey office, is growing. You may not feel it yet. You may not feel it for a while, but it's there, in the dark, reaching for light it can't see yet. Trust it, the way your grandfather trusted the letter, the way the letter trusted you. Sleep now. The candles on the shrine are still burning. The river is still running. The crops are still growing quietly in the dark. Everything you planted is still here. Everything you tended is still alive. Your grandfather is proud of you. He told you so. He came all the way back from wherever the dead go to tell you so, and he would not have done that if it weren't true. Rest. The valley is watching over you. The farm is safe. The seasons will keep turning. And in the morning, whenever your morning comes, the sun will rise over Pelican Town, and the fields will be green, and there will be work to do. Good work. The kind of work that makes you more yourself instead of less. But that's tomorrow. Tonight, there is only this. The quiet, the dark, the gentle persistence of growing things, and the knowledge that someone who loved you very much made sure, with a letter, with a farm, with a promise kept from beyond death itself, that you would be okay. You are okay. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Sleep now. The valley will still be here when you wake. It always is.